Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. Our guest on the program, Dr. Robert Neuman, the former Associate Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at Marquette University, author of the book we'll be talking about today, Are You Really Ready for College? College Dean's 12 Secrets for Success. Dr. Bob, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you very much, Rick.
This is a really important topic, and it's interesting because a lot of people, they're thinking, okay, I've got my laptop, I've got my microwave, I got a 3.85 GPA, I'm ready for college. And you're saying, based on over 25 years experience, thousands of students you dealt with, not so fast. It's not that simple.
It's not that simple. And to begin with, let's consider some statistics. And they will surprise a lot of people. Number one, 2 out of 3 college students do not graduate on time. Therefore, only 1/3 of college students will graduate on time. And by time, I mean 4-year college program, you complete it in 4 years or 8 semesters. A 2-year college program, you complete it in 2 years. That's one statistic. Another statistic related to that is this, that by the time a group of college students reach year 6, there are still 40% that haven't graduated. Okay? So when the news media talks about the big issue of college debt, and it is huge, as you know, it affects the national debt. Usually the news reporters don't ask this question, well, how long did it take you to graduate from college? If you didn't graduate in 4 years and instead you graduated in 5 years, 6 years or more, do you see how your basic amount of tuition suddenly goes up 25%, 50% and more?
Well, that's an interesting case that you make in the book. And the book is called, Are You Really Ready for College? A College Dean's 12 Secrets for Success, What High School Students Don't Know. The website is areyoureadyforcollege.com. Information available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and you can link on to Dr. Bob's website, our guest on the program, Dr. Robert Neuman. You make the case in the book that one of the major issues in dealing with student debt is each semester you go back, you're basically adding to the debt. If you go 6 years instead of 4, no wonder it's costing you a lot of money, and it makes perfect sense the way you explain it.
Yes. Consider it from the parent's point of view. Unfortunately, in planning for college, students, they don't take in all the information. They don't understand all the information about paying for college. But parents do, or at least they have an idea of how much it's going to cost them. And what they read has to do with completing a degree, as I say, 4 years or 2 years. Well, by the time these students, come close to what should be the end, then they discover, oh my gosh, I can't pay 25% more. I can't pay 50% more. And so the parents are saying, what's going on here? Why is this occurring? And of course, they need to have those answers. And I think that both the parents and the students can get those answers in my book, because I say these are the 12 things that students need to succeed in college. They're not learning them either before college or early on in college, and that's why degree programs are often extended the way they are.
Well, part of this debate is it really affordable? Do I really need a college degree? You make the argument, yes, you do. A 4-year degree really it's going to make you double what the person without one gets. And when you think about it, if I'm looking for a job, the employer's not going to pay me more because I had 6 years of college instead of 4.
Right.
In the marketplace, I'm still worth what somebody with a college degree is. So basically those last 2 years, if it takes me 6 years, that's sort of wasted money, right, at that point?
It's not only wasted money, it's wasted time.
Wasted time.
If you graduate on time, you see that period, that 2-year period, think if you had that time to get a job. And if, it's going to be harder for some people to get a job than others. But, if you had those 2 years or that extra year that you might have to spend in school looking for a job or getting a better idea about your career, again, you've saved a lot because you'll be working during that period
Exactly.
of time where other students would still be in college.
Dr. Robert Neuman, our guest on This Week in America, the book, and it's an excellent one. Are you really ready for college? A College Dean's 12 Secrets for Success, What High School Students Don't Know. The book is very easy to read. It's designed for high school kids to read. It's designed for parents. It's designed for educators. The website is areyoureallyreadyforcollege.com. And it's interesting you make the case in the book why the majority of college students with high school A averages struggle. And I mentioned in the beginning, I got my 3.85. I'm ready to go. And you saying it's very simple. It takes more than being smart to succeed in college. Talk a little bit about that and why the fact that we did well in high school doesn't necessarily predict how we're going to do in college.
Right. Let me give you a couple of statistics again. Um, High school grades are getting higher and higher. That's been going on for 25 years. It's what's called grade inflation. So students are getting higher grades these days than they ever have before. Certainly back when I was in college, we didn't get these kinds of grades. Now, also what sort of what surprises you is that students are studying fewer hours than they've ever studied before. So you say, let's see, let me figure out what's going on here. They get higher grades and yet they're studying fewer hours.
What is going on?
Okay. High schools are not asking the students to develop the 12 things that I mentioned in my book. Let me give you an example. If students are studying few hours, as few as 6 or 7 hours a week, no more than an hour a day, if they're doing that, when they get to college and the colleges tell them, as they usually do, well, starting out in the freshman year, remember, college is a full-time job. So you're going to have to put in at least 25 to 30 hours a week to be a successful freshman. And that increases as you go through your college career. Now, let's go back to high school. If these students are studying fewer hours, they can't make this jump from high school to college just in terms of studying, just in terms of hours of studying. Also, what's happening, if they study fewer hours in high school, those study skills aren't well developed for college, but also in order to develop just those study skills, you have to put yourself on a schedule. I mean, even a high school student has to say, come on, I've got to study at least 2 hours a day, Sunday through Thursday or something like that. And that you should increase that a little bit through high school. So you don't run into what I call the academic glass wall in college, which means suddenly they get knocked right off of their feet and they say, and their grades are low, they drop courses and so forth. And they say, what's happening here? You see, I don't know what's going on. And one of the big things is they don't know how to study and they don't know how to schedule themselves for a certain amount of study time each week.
The book is called Are You Really Ready for College? And a point you make is you really need the secret, start young. I mentioned middle school in there a couple of times. You can actually start this concept in middle school. And this is interesting. We've got the 12 strategies, the 12 keys. I'm looking at these in strategy 7 is studying versus homework. And yes, there is a difference. That sounds so basic and it's like, well, what is the difference? But this is sort of the key. There really, if you can't go in and study in college, you've got some serious problems, obviously.
Serious problems because college, I put it this way to students and parents. Homework is really a grade school concept. In grade school, the teachers say, all right, I want you to go home and I want you to do this assignment. Okay, then you're done and maybe you have to bring it in the next day. If students maintain that kind of idea of studying as homework, they're going to act like grade schoolers. So the teachers in high school, they say, all right, your assignment for tomorrow is, okay, and you're going to do it You're doing homework at that point, but in order to really develop in that course, you have to do more than your homework. You have to, what I call, very simply, you have to study besides doing your homework. And so that is, as you say, it's a basic concept. You would think that that students would learn it, but I also have to put some of the burden here, on the high schools because they don't explain this to students. So when I talk to high school people, I say, don't talk about homework, talk about studying. Studying. That's a more mature way to look at learning.
A word you use, and this sort of sticks in my mind after I read it in the book, and the book is called Are You Really Ready for College? Our guest on the program this week in America is Dr. Robert Neuman. His website is areyoureallyreadyforcollege.com. Based on 25 years working at Marquette University, literally dealing with thousands of students. The book again, Are You Really Ready for College? Website, areyoureallyreadyforcollege.com. The word is cramming. And I
Yes.
think back on my days in school, my kids' days in school, and that, boy, we did a lot of cramming, and then you wonder the long-term implication, how long you're able to retain what you crammed in the first place.
Right. And as I say, high school students can get very good at
Yeah,
cramming.
exactly.
Studying the night before the test, doing the paper the night before the test. And in some cases, they can even get high grades. Well, once again, if they're not looking ahead and understanding that, I'm sorry, cramming is just not going to work in college. Working the night before, everybody has to do a little bit before, the night before, sharpening up their paper and anticipating, what they're going to get on the test. But you really have to do this regularly. You have to be studying all your courses on a regular basis so that really when you get to the night before turning in the assignment or taking the test, you're not cramming. And in fact, you can do the last minute stuff, and what you're really doing is refining your knowledge so that you can take that test, or refining that paper so that when you turn it in, it really is an excellent paper. So again, this is a adjustment that students have a very hard time making from high school to college, because in high school they do so much cramming and there's so much procrastination. Yeah.
There's such an emphasis now all across the country on test taking. And the argument is a lot of teachers are actually teaching to the test. That involves a lot of cramming that results in memorization. Is that part of the problem, that we're actually not really teaching, studying, and critical thinking skills to the extent that we should be?
Right. I think that every teacher, whether it's high school or college, they always hand out an outline. We call it a syllabus sometimes, and it says, all right, these are the books we're using. This is how we're going to, learn this material chapter by chapter and so forth. But when I talk to teachers, I always say, right up front, you tell them on that syllabus, that outline, that this course, from my experience, requires this amount of time to study, rather than saying, well, it all depends upon whether you're a good student or not a very good student, or whether you're really good in math or you're not good in math. That is what happens. If you're not good in math, you have to study more in math. And I don't let people get away with the idea of, well, I'm just not very good in math. My reaction to that is, well, if you study it more than the person next to you who is very good in math, you will learn it. And so if you take the concept of, okay, now I've got to learn this material and I've got to put time in on it. I want the teachers to say that at the beginning. In fact, I wish every teacher, just as a motto, for example, would put at the top of the syllabus, to gain knowledge, you have to study. And in order to be an effective studier, you have to put in the time. So learning is a process of putting in the time, studying with concentration, and then getting the knowledge. For long-term learning, you can't just snap your fingers and say, I got it. And I'll make one more comment about this. I have a feeling, I'm not an expert in this, but I have a feeling that students, because they're at computers and on the internet and so forth, and everything comes instantly, and they think that they can go there. These internet is a great source for learning and so forth, but if they think that learning is just push a button and I've got it, they have to know up front in every class, and they have to be reminded that if you're really going to gain knowledge here, you have to study with skill and you have to put in the time in order to do that.
The book, Are You Really Ready for College, lays it out. It is easy to read. Teenagers can read it. Parents can read it. Middle schoolers especially. Again, Dr. Bob says the key is starting early with this. Our guest on the program, Dr. Robert Neuman, a former academic dean and college readiness expert. That's not a term I hear a lot of, college readiness expert. And I'm thinking we actually need more of those. And one more thought, and time is going by way too quickly, and we'll have Dr. Bob back on future programs. You watch sometimes C-SPAN on weekends when they go into a college classroom, and there's not a lot of asking who did this, what was the year this happened, that type of thing. It's discussion. It's people throwing out opinions and taking those opinions and then discussing the opinions. Is that what college is? I mean, I'm looking at that, and even before we talked about doing this program, I'm thinking, but that's a whole lot different than college 40, 50 years ago, and it's certainly different than high school where it's all like regurgitating facts.
Well, it may not surprise you, but college really hasn't changed for 50 years, 60 years, and so forth. It is still based on the lecture method, what they call the Socratic method. You give a lecture, you try to involve students in the conversation, and you do it, unlike high school, in a really short period of time. Of course, in college, as you know, 3 days a week. Whereas in high school, you get the course for 5 days a week.
Right.
So here you are in college, you have to study more in a shorter period of time, and there's twice as much to learn. Now, if you're used to very close contact with teachers in a high school classroom, where the teachers, rightfully, they do things a little more slowly. They don't just stand up in the classroom and talk to the students and tell them, learn this. They ask questions more frequently. They involve the students in the conversation. And that the student conversation is a technique for learning. So that's why they have to bring these learning skills into college so that they don't need the teacher hanging over them. The college professor isn't going to walk around the classroom and say, now, did you get that? Or if you're not doing it right, do this another way. There's still this separation between students and professor up there behind the podium. And so, again, you have to develop those learning skills in order to handle that type of learning in college, which is distinctly different from high school.
Our guest on This Week in America, Dr. Robert Neuman. The book is called Are You Really Ready for College? The website is areyourreallyreadyforcollege.com. Of course, at our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you can link on and link directly to Dr. Bob's website and get all the information. Time is going by way too quickly. Just a couple minutes left in the program, and we're talking about a lot of issues, all of these, and a clear plan is laid out in the book. Are you really ready for college? It's very simple to read. It lays everything out there, the 12 strategies, the 12 keys that you've seen. And you mentioned just a few minutes ago, is the big difference between high school and college, and maybe where some of us aren't prepared when we go, the fact that we're in this on our own now. We don't have that teacher looking over our shoulder. We don't have mom and dad driving us to school, making sure we've got homework done. If you get behind in college, that's a you problem.
Yes. And what you say just there can be the headline for a whole newspaper article. Again, if you get ready for college and high school, what are you developing aside from scheduling and learning skills? You're developing a sense of independence. You're developing a sense of self-confidence, saying to yourself, well, you see, I can learn. I'm learning on a day-by-day basis, and I set goals for myself. So it's a personal maturity as well as an intellectual maturity. Take that maturity and that sense of independence to college. You will not only do better in your courses just because you have that kind of maturity, but you'll have a more positive outlook. There are too many students going to college that they just have a negativism about them. I'm sorry, I wish the world could be a happier place, but it isn't. There's a lot of things to be negative about. But in terms of your own college education, you have to be as positive as you possibly can. And to be positive, you have to have a sense of independence, self worth, self confidence, and be self reliant.
In the book, Are You Really Ready for College? You'll find a college readiness exam, which will give you some idea if you're ready, what you need to work on. You also you'll learn about yourself, some learn about yourself surveys, tips and checklists, interactive tools that'll help keep you on track, and accounts of real life college situations. Nothing works better than like, okay, here's a student, he's going through what you went through. This is how we got through that. And you've done such an excellent job with the book. You even have underlined the important parts that I would underline as I'm going through the book. It's already done for you. It's all laid out there. So many more topics to talk about, and we will do that when we have Dr. Bob back with us on the program. The book, once again, is called Are You Really Ready for College? A College Dean's 12 Secrets for Success, What College Students Don't Know. The website is areyourreallyreadyforcollege.com. The book is available around the country. Of course, check it out on Amazon. Go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on directly to Dr. Bob's website. Robert Neuman, our guest on the program. Dr. Bob, thank you for joining us. The time went by way too quickly. Look forward to having you back on the program.
Oh, thank you so much, Rick. This has been a great experience.
Well, it's been fun having you here, very informative, and we will have you back. Again, the book is Are You Really Ready for College? Information at our website, thisweekinamerica.us.